Healthy males' sexual function relies on a highly sensitive, interconnected biological network. To work correctly, it requires the precise, synchronized coordination of vascular blood flow, neuromuscular reflexes, and psychological equilibrium. But a massive discrepancy has formed between the objective clinical reality of how this system performs and how men actually perceive it. This chart reveals the depth of the disconnect. 85% of female partners report complete satisfaction with their partner's physical dimensions, yet 68% of men experience clinically significant anxiety regarding their size. Of those seeking enlargement, a third meet diagnostic criteria for body dysmorphic disorder. Modern digital media and highly exaggerated pornography reinforce this cognitive bias. By promoting physical archetypes that are scientifically inaccurate, these platforms train the mind to expect an impossible standard. This persistent psychological distress operates like a virus in the system. It triggers performance anxiety and safety-seeking behaviors, which actively block the physiological mechanisms required for healthy sexual function. Compulsive pornography consumption and excessive masturbation hijack the brain's reward pathways. The continuous novelty of digital media creates a powerful, self-sustaining dopamine-chasing loop. Over time, this neurochemical rewiring desensitizes the brain. It significantly raises the threshold of physical arousal required to perform during real-world partnered intimacy. When a physical encounter fails to meet this artificially high threshold, the body experiences a cascade of failure. The brain registers the difficulty, triggering severe performance anxiety, which spikes the sympathetic nervous system and floods the bloodstream with epinephrine. This flowchart tracks how that anxiety causes physical failure. Epinephrine chemically overrides and blocks the parasympathetic nerve symbols responsible for smooth muscle relaxation in the penis, resulting directly in psychogenic erectile dysfunction. Digital overstimulation short-circuits the body's physiological hardware. The individual is left trapped in a self-reinforcing cycle of physical failure and psychological retreat. Aside from psychological factors, organic erectile dysfunction stems from mechanical vascular failure. Under healthy conditions, sexual stimulation triggers the release of nitric oxide, activating the veno-occlusive process that traps blood to maintain rigidity. The mechanical vulnerability of this system lies in its scale. The cavernosal arteries are incredibly small, measuring only 1 to 2 millimeters in diameter. This makes them highly susceptible to early endothelial damage and restricted blood flow. Because these microvessels are so narrow, they show signs of blockage long before larger arteries do. Clinical data shows that organic erectile dysfunction frequently precedes major cardiac events by up to 5 years. Organic erectile dysfunction serves as a highly sensitive, potentially life-saving early warning system for coronary artery pathology. Premature ejaculation involves 2 mechanical phases, the sympathetic emission phase and the somatic expulsion phase. Local muscular pathology disrupts this. A weak or tight pelvic floor removes physical braking strength, shortening the biological runway and triggering the reflex arc early. Low sexual stamina is a mechanical and muscular failure of the pelvic floor, a physical weakness that can be systematically conditioned and repaired. Because these failures are mechanical and cognitive, clinical recovery protocols allow both the biological and psychological networks to be intentionally retrained to restore their baseline equilibrium. To break the cycle of porn addiction, a structured cognitive behavioral approach is required. This involves establishing strict digital boundaries to block access and utilizing the mindfulness technique of urge surfing to naturally downregulate neurochemical cravings. Physical recovery targets the pelvic floor. The protocol begins with slow Kegels, where muscles are contracted and held for several seconds. This isolates and builds the slow twitch muscle fibers required for voluntary ejaculatory delay. Next are quick flicks, which are rapid, high-intensity contractions. These train the fast twitch fibers, giving the patient an on-demand emergency brake to consciously interrupt the climax reflex pathway. Finally, the reverse Kegel addresses hypertonic pelvic muscles. Utilizing deep diaphragmatic breathing, this technique actively lengthens the pelvic floor to lower chronic baseline tension and expand the physical latency runway. Through disciplined cognitive rewiring and targeted neuromuscular reprogramming, a man can reclaim complete voluntary control over his autonomic responses. Protecting the physical hardware also requires specific environmental habits. Healthy spermatogenesis relies on strict scrotal thermoregulation, keeping the local temperature 2 to 7 degrees Celsius below core body temperature. Wearing tight synthetic polyester underwear forces the tissue against the warm pelvic core and generates electrostatic potentials that impair cellular function. Replacing these with loose, organic cotton prevents genital heat stress and stops the transdermal absorption of chemical endocrine disruptors. A strict daily hygiene protocol is non-negotiable. Using a mild, fragrance-free cleanser protects the thin skin barrier, while removing smegma is an absolute necessity to prevent bacterial fermentation and severe local inflammation. Routine maintenance also includes a monthly urological self-exam. This should be performed during or immediately after a warm shower, when the heat naturally relaxes the scrotal tissue. During the exam, the primary diagnostic target is any hard, painless, pea-sized lump. Catching these abnormalities early provides a critical head start in detecting highly curable forms of testicular cancer. Male sexual health is an active, dynamic system. By tracking objective clinical metrics, adhering to physical conditioning, and practicing cognitive discipline, men possess the agency to completely rewrite their biological and psychological baselines.